Hey guys. Hey. Assalamu alaikum. Beautiful Wednesday. Beautiful day. I hope everyone is having a beautiful day already. And I hope the rest of your day continues to go well. Inshallah. Give a few minutes, even though I'm a few minutes late, but I still want to give a few minutes. So, happy beautiful Wednesday again. Today's live is Momming with Autism. This is actually the second live. I did one 2 weeks ago. So today, I want to talk about what I thought and what I learned. So again, hey. So, like I shared in the first live, when my daughter has officially been diagnosed with autism. But prior to her official diagnosis, as it was leading up to it and the suggestions were coming into play, there were a number of thoughts that were swirling around in my head. Hey, how are you? There were a number of thoughts that came to my mind, of course, being uneducated about autism. So I'm just going to share some of the thoughts that I had and why I was so closed off to the whole idea or even accepting the thought that, she may have possibly been autistic, right? First thought was, in my mind, I was like, excuse me. In my mind, when I thought about autism, I thought usually those were children that, can't speak at all, can't say anything, just not functioning normal at all. Right? I did not know that there were levels to autism. I did not know that there were different, types of ways that children can be diagnosed but still be performing at different levels, right? So for me, it was like, she's very smart. She knows how to count. She knows how to identify her letters, colors, everything. Her only issue is that she will not have conversations with you, right? And another thing that she struggled with was actual having social interaction with other kids. So she likes to be in their presence. She likes to be around them. But actually, interacting in the activity that they're doing, she wouldn't do that, right? Another thing is her eating habits, right? She's very picky. She still doesn't... Right, yeah, so I was very, very closed off because I was just like, there's no way, like, she functions normal, she just doesn't speak, right? So, and also, the other thing that I noticed was, like, her diet. She's very picky. She doesn't eat a lot of things. She doesn't eat meat. She eats literally the same things every day, right? So, I was just like, well, maybe, because I spoke to other parents with toddlers, and they had the same issue, that their kids are extremely picky. They just eat specific things, right? So she had a set, like every day she eats the same things. If it's not peanut butter and jelly or banana or her applesauce, she likes the Ensures. She loves water. That's not an issue for her. What else? She likes pizza and she'll eat mac and cheese. And that's where it stops, right? Everything else is like a no for her instantly. And then I learned about like textures and sensory and some of the things that I learned was that maybe it's the texture that she doesn't like in certain foods, because there were times later on that she would try like chicken, if it was like a fried chicken strip or something, and I guess that was a different texture for her, so she would try it, right? So after going through my own thought process, another thing was she didn't go to bed at night, and I just thought it was because naturally sometimes she would take her nap too late. So then she wakes back up and then she's up all night. So We just had associated it with, we need to get her on a specific bedtime, right? But I learned that it's not only because she's not on a bedtime, it's kind of like, because I want to say my daughter's like high functioning, right? Because her brain is always going. She's always, eager. She's always trying to, figure out what something is. And so there are times where it's time to go to bed and she just won't wind down. It's super, super hard for her to wind down. So she'll continue to like repeat her ABCs. She'll get books and just want to keep going, right? So I didn't think nothing of it. I just figured that she just enjoys it, and that's all it is. I also learned that it is a way to reverse their diagnosis depending on the level that they're at. Or I don't want to say reverse, but there is a way for them to like improve where they're not functioning as children with autism, even though they're diagnosed with autism, if that makes sense. Because I don't want to, I'm being careful because I don't want to offend anyone else with children that have autism, and I am no autism specialist. I am just sharing my experiences and what I've learned, right? So after, first we took her to get a hearing exam, and there was no issue with her hearing. She could hear, because that was one of the things too. They were like, she doesn't answer to her name. My opinion, this is what I thought. I just said to myself, she's just ignoring us because she knows her name. There are specific times where she does give a reaction when you say her name, right? But of course, the more educated I got and as time went on, I did realize that there were times where you try to get her attention and she doesn't really focus to come to you, or if I say like, pass me that, or grab that, or pick that up. There are times I can tell when she just doesn't want to do something, or she's just not registering what it is, the command that I'm giving to her, right? So I had to, learn that there were different, even though these things might have been just normal things, and she probably was going through different moods sometimes, because let's be honest, we all have moods, right? So I wasn't trying to associate that to be a big thing, but eventually I learned that it is a part of it. She, her focus, her ability to stay on task, or to, follow commands was a big thing. So fast forward, she's been diagnosed. She has her therapist that comes to see her at her daycare and stuff like that. So some of the things that we've been implementing and they've been implementing, one of the things is called PECs, where it's like you use pictures and, you identify, you put the picture there and you hold your hand out, and if it's something, it's like you got to get a bunch of pictures of things that she really enjoys to do. So for example, the one day I saw her therapist do it, she used candy. So she had the candy sitting next to her and she had a picture of candy. So she stuck the candy on the binder and some other objects, and she raised her hand to my daughter, and she would snatch what picture of what item she wants, right? I thought it was really cool because I was just like, oh, okay. I started to open up a bit more to the fact that, communication is an issue, and we're just going to have to work on it and work through it and not think the worst about it. And I thought it was cool because she really did respond well. When she gave her the picture and the therapist gave her the candy. And it was something that she was enjoying, I could tell. So, I don't know. Not that I don't know. I don't want to say she's nonverbal because she talks. You see what I'm saying? That's why I was so like offended and like closed off to the whole idea, right? Because she talks. She knows how to talk. When she does talk, her pronunciation is very, very good. She is very fluent when she speaks or counts in Spanish, when she says anything in Arabic, when she speaks in English. She can talk. She's just not consistent with her communications. So there are times, sometimes, where we'll say like, good morning, and she may say it back, and then there's another time she won't. So what they said to me was just, we have to work to get her consistent. There are times where I'm like, how are you? Or she's even said it to me. She's like, how are you? And I said, I'm fine. How are you? And she's like, I'm good. But it's not something I can say to her every single time and get a response every single time, if that makes sense. So she's not nonverbal. She's just not consistent in her ways of communicating, right? And thanks for that question. Anyways, you guys, I am very open to questions. Even though I'm sharing, please please feel free to ask me any questions. I'm open to sharing, and if you guys have any, knowledge or insight or suggestions, feel free to share, or you can request to join the live, right? So her communication is her biggest struggle. There are times when I can tell that it's a matter of she's shy, because like there are times when you're not expecting her to do anything, or you're not pressuring her to do something, and she will do it. But once you create a certain type of excitement around it, like, oh, good job, and then she gets like really like, she goes back into a shell, and then she stops, right? So I do recognize that she doesn't really like to be put on the spot. So even though, yes, she is diagnosed with autism, I do feel like a lot of things is a part of her personality. Just knowing her dad and me, I just know that some of it has a lot to do with her personality, right? But I'm not going to be currently I'm no longer in denial, but I was in denial before. But I still can recognize where it's more so that's her personality, and that's because of this. I now know how to put the two together, if that makes sense. So we're currently doing the PECs, as I was saying earlier, with her therapist. She showed that to me. She did a home session with me and showed me the identification of pictures. She also suggested, doing verbal or like musical, not really music, because that was another thing. When before she got diagnosed, right, we didn't think anything of the fact that she would just sing. So she loves music, she loves instruments, she's very drawn to every type of instrument there is. She loves to sing, she's good at that. If you music class, there's no issues with her paying attention or participating. She's very much okay with doing that when it comes to music, right? So what would happen was she would sing everything. And of course, in the real world, you cannot sing to communicate, right? So we had to begin to cut out some of the, singing stuff that she was watching. I don't want to say cartoons, because she doesn't really watch cartoons, but like the learning, videos and stuff like that, there was a lot of singing, and she really loved it. So she would just communicate through singing. You would be talking to her, and she'll be singing a nursery rhyme to you, right? So, of course, I'm not going to say there weren't times that even, so a complete transparent moment. Some of the things that really made me emotional was that as she got older, and as you see other kids doing certain things and hitting specific milestones, and you wonder, like, okay, all right, she should be or kind of doing this a little bit now, because at first I associated it to, she was home for the first 2 years, she wasn't around a lot of kids, right? I was giving myself my own answers and my own excuses. So as time went on, I'm like, she's around other kids, it's still not happening. There were moments of lows where I felt like, robbed of the opportunity to have a normal experience of mothering, right? And I say normal experience without any judgment or discrimination against any children. This is my experience, my story. There were times I felt robbed, because there are things that I felt like we weren't connecting, because I couldn't have like not even a full conversation, because of course she was younger, so I'm not expecting her to give me like a full on, paragraph, but just the basics, right? And I was very emotional about it at times, because it's like I would love to know what she's thinking, what she's feeling, how is her day, how is her experience overall on a day-to-day basis, right? And I'm not able to have those types of conversations with her, or for her to engage in certain play together, right? Some stuff she will do, like if it's like outdoor playing, she will participate. If I want to run with her or jump or do fun, high energetic things, I can get her to do that. But as far as like sitting, communicating, hand over hand activities, sometimes I'm not sure if she's just not really in the mood, or she's just not connecting to the activity at all, right? So those were some of the moments that really hurt, because I was very concerned about like just knowing, what she's thinking, what she's feeling, knowing that she can't really communicate to me what's bothering her, she would just cry, right? So she still doesn't currently, but she's getting better. She's getting more consistent in some of her responses and some of her ways of connecting. Like now we know that when she comes up to you and she just rubs your arm and hugs you, that's her physical way, without using words, of expressing, loving emotion through touch. She touches you, she hugs you, she'll rub your face, she'll give you a kiss. Recently she started being more consistent in, like, if I say I love you, she'll say it back to me. Or, if I say, or her dad says, like, give me a high five or give me a hug or give me a kiss, she'll do it now consistently. Before, it was periodically. It was like maybe once in a while. If we said it, she might do it, she might not. Now she will. If you say give me a high five, she'll do it consistently. If you say give me a hug, she'll do it consistently. She's connected more with, commands and instructions. So I will say that I do believe the speech therapist and her occupational therapist and even her daycare, they're so good with her. They have been doing a really good job, because, like, some things when she comes home, you can tell that it's because she's been doing it there, because she'll just do it out of nowhere without you even asking. So that, I say alhamdulillah for that, because she's definitely progressing in that area. One of the things I learned recently, because of course when we first found out, my mom was one of the biggest, like, supports in trying to find answers, trying to find resources and ways and how we can help her to progress. Because, like I shared on the first live, she is on the spectrum, but she is level 2. What the evaluator said to me was that, being as though she's on level 2, it's a possibility that she can just outgrow it, right? But it's only possible if we get her the help that she needs, and we continue to, work on the area in which she's struggling. So my mom was big on trying to help me, but at the time I just was not I was not open. So I would shut down any conversation. I didn't want to hear anything. I didn't want to talk about it, because in my mind, nothing's wrong. Okay, eventually she's just going to start doing everything, which, once I got to that place of acceptance, I just had to tell myself, like, it's not fair. If there is an opportunity or a way in which I can help her to be better now and for her future, I cannot be selfish in my emotions and my feelings of not accepting what the reality is, right? The why me is not going to help her. All I could do is take what it is and work with the solutions and do my best to make sure that I'm giving my all to her and to this process, right? So my mom was always sharing, like, doctors that specialize in autism, things like that. And the latest one she sent me recently, they were discussing, like, the children's diet and things like that. They describe a lot of the things that she does, like, being picky, not wanting to eat specific things, but also giving tips on some things that need to be implemented in her diet that can help her. One of the things he described was, a lack of activity to the brain in some areas and stuff like that. So 2 of the things that we've been working with her recently was these natural gummies. One is for focus, and one is, it's called, like, brain food. I forgot the exact name. I should have brought it out here to show you guys. So he suggested, like, finding ways to give to cut out, like, gluten, dairy, and to find supplements that are natural and healthy that could assist her in the things that she's not getting through her diet. Because, like I said, she won't eat meat. She doesn't get any protein because she doesn't like the texture. So it's been a week and a half since we've been giving her the gummies, and I'm going to say, I don't want to speak too soon, but I can agree with the doctor and what he stated, because even, like, when she's at daycare, they have a portal where they're sending us, like, pictures and stuff that she's doing throughout the day. Her dad and I was talking about this today. It's almost like it's a completely different child. When I say the pictures are completely different, she's focused. You can tell she's focused. And even today, her instructor said that in the video she sent. She's like, Samaya was, giving a lot of eye contact. She was participating. She was connecting and doing all these things. And I'm just like, wow, it's only been a week. And these are things that she will be there. Like I said, she'll be present. She'll watch the activities, but she will not participate. So, I say alhamdulillah because that's a real struggle, and to see that she's progressing daily, slowly but surely, makes me happy. And it also, makes me feel even more confident that as long as my husband and I continue to do what we have to do, continue to work with her, continue to do our part, and really push her in the direction that she needs to go in, I have no doubt that she will progress probably by far than I can even imagine. Because when I first got the diagnosis, instantly my heart was broken. I cannot even sit here and tell you that I was so cool and it's not the end of the world. No, my heart was broken because instantly I thought like, okay, how is she going to be in the world? Like, what does this mean? Like, will I constantly, or her dad and I, will we constantly have to like care for her even as an adult? Like I said, being uneducated about what autism is, these were just some of the thoughts and fears I had that I, in my mindset, it's like, okay, I'm always going to have to protect her, even though naturally when you're parents, that's always your thought. But there was this extra concern that, I have to be super protective. I don't want people to hurt her feelings. I don't want people to make her feel like she is so different or she's less than, or, the world is cruel, and unfortunately, kids can be very, very mean sometimes. And I can't say what the reason is, but it's just the reality we live in, right? So I was very fearful of that. But each day she amazes me, she surprises me with just the little things that she does, and like the little I can't find the word because I just got really like overwhelmed just now. But each day is a task because there are still some things that are very scary. So one of the things that we definitely struggle with, and I knew that it may have had something to do with there being a more serious problem before she got diagnosed, right? You constantly have to watch her. She will, I call it the experiment with the mouth. Every single thing that comes into her presence or in her grasp, she will put it in her mouth. And everything, as we know, is not really safe to go in the mouth. So she does not have any problem with experimenting with putting things in her mouth, and it's not always safe. So our house is completely baby proof. We have little baby locks on everything, closets, everything, right? Because if we don't, she's going to get into everything and put things in her mouth. And one of the things I did learn was that it could be from stuff that she's lacking in her diet that's making her like, crave for substances that are not food. So for example, like lotion, powder, maybe soap. If she sees it, she'll try to put it in her mouth, right? Not necessarily because she thinks it's food. And there are times that if she is hungry, instead of communicating that she's hungry, she will just start putting things in her mouth, right? Alhamdulillah, she is getting better as far as when she's hungry. We now know how to navigate through that phase, right? And one of the reasons why, as far as her communicating what she wants, as far as like eating and things like that, why we didn't think about autism at first, is because we felt like, we kind of spoiled her. We never really gave her the opportunity to come and say, hey, mom or dad, I'm hungry, or anything. It's just like we had a routine. When she woke up in the morning, she ate at this time, she ate lunch at this time, she had dinner at this time. So everything was just kind of like prepared and given to her. We never really made sure that she was using her words, right? And it could just be us being first-time parents and just thinking like, we have to give and do everything that we know she needed which in the long run we thought like, this might have just hindered her because now she's not using her words. We were blaming ourselves, but realistically, that there's nothing we could have really done because her, like I said, her primary problem is communicating. So whether we did it or not, she was still, that's the area in which she lacks, right? So then we had to take back baby steps and start doing those things. So that by far has been the biggest challenge, getting her to use her words to communicate her needs, which is how the PEC system came into play with the pictures. And I realized she really does work really well with that. And one thing she said was, once she gives it to you, you keep saying what it is that she's asking for and what she wants, and eventually after stuff being repeated over and over, she will grasp the understanding and begin to say it or do it. And so for children with autism, I know for my daughter especially, they need consistent routines in order to to function at their highest and best level. They need consistent routines. So everything we do daily, we have to consistently do, right? Especially if it's trying to potty train her, trying to get her to talk, we have to do the communication exercises consistently, because once there's a break in that, then she goes right back to not doing it, right? So I think that's majority of what I want to share today. But yeah, so right now where we are is we're working on a way to implement more of what she needs in her diet and subtracting what she does not need. Now, keep in mind, she has a fairly clean diet because she doesn't get like sugar or juices or anything. She doesn't really have dairy because she doesn't like eggs. She doesn't like milk. So just making sure that everything is really like non-artificial, gluten-free, and stuff like that, and seeing how we can start, implementing some different foods as her, as she improves. Right, so that's where we are, working on implementing new things in her diet and just getting her to continue to consistently communicate and really start communicating her needs more. She does a lot of action, but actually using her words, right? Yeah. So, like I stated, for those that are here or for those that are going to join or watch it later, feel free to ask me any questions you guys want to ask. Feel free to share with me any information, any resource, anything. I'm very open to it all, except negativity. I'm not open to rude comments or feedbacks because, like I said, I'm no autism specialist. I am just sharing my struggles, my experience, and the journey as we're working towards her progression in her ability to communicate. Parenthood is hard. No matter what you're dealing with, it's just hard. But I think that as long as we continue to commit, operate out of love, and educate ourselves and continue to pursue what it is that we know our children need, then that's all we can really ask for, because nobody's a perfect parent, right? But we do our best. So this is my experience. This is my story. Me and my husband. I'm momming with autism. And by far, so aside from like all the struggles and the things that really, gets me down, there are a lot of things that it's just so unique and I find to be so amazing to me because of her personality. There's a lot of things that she does that I don't necessarily want to take away. Like, she's very strong-willed. Like, she's a happy child. Like, she's always like happy. She loves nature. She loves to be interactive with people all the time. She might not necessarily want to do what you're actually doing, but just the presence and being in the space where things are happening is just like amazing for her. I love watching her because it just always seems like she's in her own little joyful world. Like, everything is beautiful, everything is fun, and she just has a ball by herself sometimes. Like, she is okay with playing by herself, and I don't necessarily want her to outgrow some of these things. I like that she likes her own company. I love that she's very strong-willed. Now, of course, there's ways that we're going to have to curve that a little bit because you have to listen sometimes, but I love the fact that she knows what she wants and she's going to do that. I love it. You know, she's free and she's unapologetic in her way of being and what that looks like for her. So there are a lot of times and a lot of ways in which I just allow her to be her and allow her to explore her feelings and what it is that, you know, she wants in that moment. So, you know, I thank you guys for those who were able to join live and ask some questions. I appreciate you all. I thank you to those that will probably watch later. And for those that will share any feedbacks and comments, inshallah, I look forward to them. I welcome them. I love you guys. Have a blessed and an amazing Wednesday on purpose, with purpose. See you next week. I'm hoping to have a guest, inshallah, to talk to, preferably parents that are dealing with children with autism, or if I can find a specialist or someone that is very educated on autism. I would love to do a live and have conversations live with them. So stay tuned for that next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. I love you guys. Be blessed. Mwah.